road, say na hard work. Show it na by hard work. I'll be a fella carry Grammy. If na by hard work, shit, I for dumb blow. If na by hard work, I'll be a fella carry Grammy. If na by hard work, shit, they wine me. I say make you show me the road, say na grace. Share you the wine.
And that's because when you are hungry, the stress response becomes triggered or becomes activated in your system. Alright, so hunger actually leads to stress. Why? Because your blood sugar level becomes low.
Bunor Opute is an exceptional stress management and wellness coach with multiple certifications in rational emotive behavioral therapy, mindset coach, REBT, cognitive behavioral therapy coach, CBT, health wellness coach, an NLP practitioner and life coach. Her expertise is in helping stressed professionals weather the storms of life in their health and relationship, leaving them healthier, more energetic, and happier.
Show me the road, say na hard work. Show it na by hard work. I'll be a fella carry Grammy. If na by.
Hello and welcome again to Path to Wellness. On this program, we are interested in your complete, total well-being, your holistic well-being. You know, some of us sometimes just focus on one part of our health, which is usually the physical, and we are not so educated or we don't know so much about our mental health and what it takes to have emotional health as well, and just have an all-round well-being. So today on Path to Wellness, we have somebody who is a wellness expert who also does a lot with people, helping them manage stress. Please join me as we welcome Tina Bunor to Path to Wellness. Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I'm honored to be here.
We are delighted that you could accept our invitation to do this with us today. So before we go into our conversation, can you just let us know a bit about yourself, not just about your work, but also who you are as a person?
My name is Bunor Opute. My name is also Augustina. That's my middle name. So I'm a stress management coach, but then I have multiple coaching certifications actually. I'm also a rational emotive behavioral therapy mindset coach. I'm a cognitive behavioral therapy coach, a wellness coach, health coach, and an NLP practitioner. So yes, I am. So for me, wellness is big because, you know, our health is of great importance, because without it, we have absolutely nothing, you know, going on for us. You know, a lot of people actually set goals in different areas of their lives, you know, but they don't set health goals, you know, but they are forgetting that on your value list, you need to make your health number one, because without it, everything means nothing. You see, so for me, it took having challenging situations, falling sick, like having chronic ailments, you know, for me to start taking charge of my health. So, but my point is, we don't need to wait until sickness comes before we begin to value our health. You know, our health is our priority. It's more of our responsibility than it is our doctors. So that's actually what got me started on my wellness journey, and then also into mental health, because I was in a highly toxic work environment. It wasn't always like that. I mean, my job was great initially, you know, but later on, the job wasn't so amazing anymore. You know, being overworked, being underpaid and undervalued. I was in a constantly stressful situations. I was in a constantly toxic work environment, and you know, there were this lots of politics going on, you know, in the workplace. That wasn't good for me, and that was actually, yes, but unfortunately I kept bottling these things or bottling them up, because you know, when you in dealing with your emotions, if you don't deal with them well, which is using and learning from them, you are going to either implode or explode, you know, especially if you're someone like me that likes that is very calm and reserved. You are not very expressive, because I used to be very unexpressive. I used to always keep to myself. When you do something to me that hurts me, instead of me to tell you about it, I'll bottle it up. So it led to a place where it wasn't so pleasant, because being pushed to the wall, when you get to the wall, eventually you will bounce back. So, and that was exactly what happened to me. It got to a point where I had to raise hand at my boss and shout at him. I was even I was surprised at my own behavior. But that was where the toxicity of the whole thing got me to, before eventually I resigned. So, but that was what. But when I resigned, something had already been done to me mentally that was really, really damaging to my person. So that was what got me started, because I knew I needed to heal. But as you already know, mental health therapy, all of these things, they are not very common, or they were not as common as it is right now, in our country, Nigeria. So then I knew I needed something. I knew I needed to change my mindset, to change this person I had become. Because if you stay in a constantly toxic environment, it will condition you to become someone else. It will affect your personality, it will affect your value system, it will affect your belief, it will affect everything about you. So I knew I needed a reprogramming. I knew I needed a change in my mindset. I knew I needed to recondition my behaviors. So that was what actually led me on this path,
On this
of
journey.
mental
Wow,
health and physical health.
interesting. Yeah. So when you said NLP, I said, oh, because I also am a master practitioner of neuro linguistic programming.
Oh,
I was like,
wow.
that's
Wow.
my sister. Yeah. Yeah. So talking about toxic environments, toxic workplace. In fact, I'm so tempted to just go that path and not talk about stress, which is our focus today. Because as you mentioned it, I know so many people who have toxicity around them. And the challenge for many is that they don't even recognize what toxicity looks like, what it is, how to handle it. Because first of all, you have to be aware that this is not good for me. Then you now begin a process
Right.
of how to handle it. And then I also think that a lot of people look at toxicity as external. So when they want to handle it, they just look at their environment as a place to go to handle it, maybe change environment or so. But if you don't do internal work with toxicity, you can change environment and still find yourself in another toxic place, because you yourself is not able to identify and know your boundaries, your limits, and set those for yourself to manage toxicity. So please, can you just buttress that a bit before we move on to stress?
Yeah, everything is actually stress related, Initially, because when we talk about stress, it's the word is often overused, so it has become mere semantics for most people. So we usually just, oh, I'm stressed out, this thing is stressing me, and all of that. So we just overuse the word most times, but then everything is stress related, every single thing. When you know the mechanism of stress and the stress response and all of that, you would know that everything, including mental health, every other thing, depression, anxiety, every other kind of mental health issues, they stem up from stress response. It's because the stress response has been activated on your system, and it's also linked to physical sickness, because research has shown that 60% of the world illness today is as a result of chronic stress. So back to what you actually said, all of these things are intertwined. So you cannot remove one from the other. So it's important that when we are faced with stressful situations, we need, just like you said, a lot of times we are always trying to fix. We want to change the problem, but we don't want to change ourselves. So, but the
Mm,
truth is, lasting change comes from you changing yourself. Because when you change, everything will change for you. And when you change your perception, your behaviors, your thought pattern, you know, all of these things, they will begin to bring about the changes that you want. Because if you think about it, all changes in life, all changes is usually in how we feel about things, or how we think about things, or how we behave. All changes is usually related to this. So most times we just look at the behavior, but we're not looking at what caused the behavior. You see, what caused the behavior or the result or the challenge that we're faced with is the effect, right? But there was a cause. So what caused it? So it's our thought pattern. It's how we feel, our behaviors, because our thoughts determines how we feel at every given point in time, and our feelings affect our decision, and that determines our behavior at every given point in time. So if we want to change things externally, we must always start from the inside, because just like yesterday, me and my friend were talking about something, and then we're talking about how I was talking to her about how I always do introspection, because it's very important for you to always, your self-awareness has to increase. You have to learn to know yourself on a daily basis, because it's those challenging situations, those challenges, they actually introduce you to a version of you that you never knew existed. So it's important that you go on a self-rediscovery mission. You learn to study yourself, and then that way you begin to make the right changes that you need. Every day we need to, because changing our feelings and our behaviors, it's not a destination, right? It's an ongoing process. It's a journey. So it's something that we're supposed to do consistently if we want to constantly improve, grow, and develop. Then it's something that we need to do consistently. So a lot of times we have people that are dealing with internal problems, and they are using external things to try to solve it, of which that is like just a quick fix, because the problem is still going to persist. It's still going to persist. So if, for example, let's talk about something that is very common in our world today. A lot of us lack self-love on a very deeper level. We are feeling inadequate. We are seeking external validation. We are saying, oh, I need to have big boobs for me to look attractive, for me to feel attractive, and for me to love myself. You see, I need to have big ass and all of those things. And then you go and do boob enlargement or butt enlargement. And after that, at the beginning, you feel excited, you'll be happy with yourself, But the thing is, after a while, what happens? It becomes normal. You're no longer as excited about it as you were at the beginning. But you know what? That self-love that you lacked on a deeper level, that feeling of inadequacy that you had, which is that's stress, that's mental stress. You feeling inadequate, you feeling less than yourself, you feeling not enough. That is stress. So it will still persist. And then the next thing you'll be thinking of another thing. Oh, maybe my nose is not as pointed. Maybe I need to make it point more. Maybe I need to do this. Maybe I need to increase my height. Maybe, so you will keep having all of these things. Why? Because you lack self-love on a deeper level. But if only you were able to fix your issue of self-love, you see, then you would have been able to accept yourself. You see, self-love and self-acceptance. If you were able to fix that issue, then you'll be able to solve some of those your external problems. You will know that you will not be seeking validation from external people. You will know that you don't need your boobs to be bigger than the way it is for you to feel adequate, for you to feel attractive, or for you to look attractive. You begin to know that external things, they don't define you. You are defined by your value system, by your belief system, by the things that you do. The good things that you do. Those are the things that define you. So it's the same thing. Like another example is if you have unresolved negative thoughts or feelings about something and you don't deal with it, because it's the same thing that leads people to addictions in our world today. These are the things that lead us to addictions. So when, for example, you have unresolved negative thoughts or emotions about something and you don't deal with it, a lot of times people, we because we are not okay with ourselves, we don't have good relationship with ourselves, right? So we always seek the company of someone else. We're always looking for someone else to hang out with. We just want to be with our friends or watch TV or do all of these things. Meanwhile, you're trying to do this as a means of escape, to not think about those things that is disturbing you mentally. What will happen is that because our creative mind or our subconscious mind, we actually keep those, when you have unresolved negative thoughts or emotions, it will help you keep them, it will help you keep them somewhere so that you don't have mental disturbance, and wait for another time that it feels you are in the right frame of mind to resolve it. Then it will bring it to your consciousness for you to, hello, it's time for us to resolve this issue, to bring it to your conscious mind. And then if you don't resolve it, if you stick, put it off, put it away, what will happen is that it will help you keep it away as well and bring it at a later date. But each time it brings it back, it will come with a stronger negative intensive, a stronger intensity. That feeling, it will come stronger until it will not lead to mental disturbances to the point where it begins to affect the things, your everyday functioning in general. You see, so that's what leads to those mental disturbances that we have. That's why you see that a lot of times people are mentally disturbed. You sit down here, you are here, we're talking, having a conversation, but you are not fully present. It's either you are thinking of things in the past, regrets of things you did or failed to do, or you are anxious about the future, and you are thinking of many worst case scenarios of things that may or may not even happen. So all of these things affect everything. So that is why it is important for us to always start to look for solutions to our problem internally. Instead of from outside, we need to do it inside out.
Knowing where to go is half of getting what you want. Bridge Afrique Magazine is the award-winning and globally respected publication for authoritative information regarding business potentials and opportunities in Africa of interest to China and beyond. Your business doesn't get to Africa if it's not on Bridge Afrique Magazine. We are the official magazine of Ethiopian Airline. What are you waiting for? You can contact us +861 3918943324 or follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn at Bridge Afrique Magazine, or check out our website bridgeafrique.biz. Your business is next in line. One love. Bridge Afrique Magazine.
If I had to live my life without you near me, the days would all be
an ideal location for your vacation, trips and retreats. Yangongu Villa and Lingin Amusement Parks in Shandong Province, China offers a surreal retreat area amidst natural landscape. This villa offers a tranquil oasis with lush greenery, crystal clear streams, breathtaking vistas, and a variety of charming accommodation. This park offers a roller coaster ride, slides, and themed area. Yangongu Villa provides a unique opportunity for travelers to immerse themselves in the natural beauty of Chinese countryside. Come and unwind in this surreal location and don't miss out on this natural lifetime gift. More information are displayed right there on your screen.
I might have been in love before, yes, but I never felt as strong.
Yeah. So that's so powerful when you talk about looking at our problems internally. Now, but before I come there was something else you said. You said our feelings and our thoughts produce our behaviors. And then many times we are very fast in handling behaviors without looking at the source, where it is coming from. So our solutions are ineffective because they just tackle, it's kind of like you have a tree growing at the back of your house and you don't want the tree there. Then every time the tree grows, you cut off the stems and break the leaves and hope that because you have done that, this tree will die off and all. So that was really powerful. I thought to buttress it. Now, looking at stress, we know that stress is not always bad. There's a level of stress that we need as humans to keep us going. What does you stress, right? To what extent
Yeah.
should we have stress in our lives, and when does stress become challenging or something that we should manage before it begins to affect our lives?
Yeah. So we have different kinds of stress, right? But for ease, based on duration, we're going to just look at the short-term and long-term stress. Now, the short-term stress is the acute stress, while the long-term stress is the chronic stress when it persists for a long time. Now, the short-term stress, let's look at first the positive and the negative stress. So the eustress is the positive stress, and then the distress is the negative stress, right? So in looking at eustress is short term, right? It's not something, because our body is designed, our brain is designed to keep us safe. So that's why it's the fight or flight response, which is actually the stress response. It's actually activated by the part of our brain known as the sympathetic nervous system, part of the central the nervous system, right? So, and yeah, so our brain is actually designed to keep us safe. But anyway, we are just having a podcast, so I cannot even show you pictures and all of that, but it's good. So but when I talk about the mechanism of stress, I like to start from the beginning. We have a brain and then the spinal cord, right, which make up the central nervous system. And then we now have the peripheral nervous system, which is now the spinal cord with the nerves running from there to other parts of our bodies, right? So in our peripheral nervous system, is now divided into two, which is the somatic nervous system and the autonomous nervous system. Now, the autonomous nervous system is responsible for all our involuntary actions, like the beating of our hearts, our breathing, digestion of foods, all of our system to actually function optimally. Those automated processes, it's the autonomous nervous system that is responsible. Then we now have the somatic nervous system, which is the voluntary actions. So you see, we can actually, for example, if you're holding a hot pot with boiling water, if, for example, you just held the pot, you didn't know it has a boiling water, and you just held it and you realize that it's hot, you know that if you just leave it, because reflexes will set in and you just want to leave it, right? Now, if you leave it, what will happen is that the whole water will spill on your body, and you know that that's not a wise thing to do. So what do? Your brain, so you see, your autonomous nervous system and your somatic nervous system will be at loggerhead then, because now your autonomous nervous system, which is your reflexes, will kick in for you to leave it, but your somatic nervous system will just come in to say, no, hold on, let's get to a safe place. So you'll be able to hold that hot boiling pot to a safe place, drop it, and you go, right? So that's what your somatic nervous system helps you do. So it's for all your voluntary actions, right? Now, for this autonomous nervous system, it's now further divided into two: your sympathetic and your parasympathetic nervous system. Now, your sympathetic nervous system is responsible for your stress response. That's where you have the fight or flight response. But it's usually not fight or flight. It's fight, flight, or freeze. Because in the time of old, our forefathers were cavemen. So they were hunters. They were always, when they go out for hunting and all of those things, and they encounter any form of danger, the fight or flight system or the sympathetic system kicks in, and then all of a sudden you either run towards the danger, run away from the danger. So because our brain is designed to keep us safe, so it helps to protect us from the danger, right? So what happened is that, but in our world today, we are not hunters, and when we are faced with life-threatening situations, if me and you now hear a gunshot, we will run, right? That's life-threatening. If we hear fire, we will also run, right? Because we don't want to be burnt together with whatever is going on. So, but in our world today, we don't encounter these dangers regularly. We encounter them once in a while, right? So, but when we encounter things that are not even life-threatening, our brain will interpret it as big challenge. That's where our problem usually starts from. Because when we are faced with problems or situations or challenges, we don't see the problem as it is. We see it far worse than it is. You see, So because of our perception or an interpretation of what the problem means to us, it makes us react instead of, okay, so for example, if you have a spouse and you greeted your spouse and your spouse did not respond, and maybe you people had an argument yesterday, what will happen? You'll be like, is it because of this thing I said, or is it because of what happened yesterday? Oh, you're still holding grudges. They have not. It's not. Maybe he was preoccupied mentally with something and he did not really hear you greet him, so he did not respond. But you know what? That is not a life-threatening situation. But your brain interprets it as a life-threatening situation. So sometimes, instead of us to run, we don't run away from the danger or run towards the danger. We freeze. We are immobilized with fear, and then we don't respond. We freeze. So that fight or flight response is always activated for little things, for big things, anything our brain interprets as threats or trigger, that it just interprets it as challenge. So that's where our problem usually comes from. Now, short-term stress is good because it helps to keep us safe, right? It helps to protect us from danger. If you things that ordinarily you would not be able to do, you will do them. If there's a fence, high fence in this place, normally you would never think of scaling the fence because you'd be like, I can't, right? But if you are faced with a challenging situation and that's the only option you have to escape, you will scale it without even thinking, right? So it helps us to do the impossible task, right? It helps us to build resilience. It helps to keep us safe. It helps us to meet up with tight deadlines. It helps us to bring out the best version of ourselves. That's what eustress does. But eustress is short term. Now, if you now have short term stress on a regular basis, it will lead to long term stress. And that will be detrimental for your overall health, because when the stress response is activated, your heart rate increases, your breathing, you run out of breath, and then you're breathless because you're trying to take in more oxygen to your system, and then your heart's trying to pump in this oxygenated blood around your entire system, pump it faster so that it's evenly distributed, and because of that, it increases its the heart rate, right? So all
I need to stop you here to say, what of people who say, oh, I work best under pressure, so they allow their deadlines to come really close before they work, and this becomes a consistent pattern? Does it mean that they are moving from eustress to a very harmful place for their health?
Yes, they are, because you are more creative. Stress and relaxation, they don't live on the same block. That's why I was trying to explain the somatic nervous system, the sympathetic nervous system, and the parasympathetic nervous system. You see, because your parasympathetic nervous system is responsible for your rest and relaxation. Like you and I were sitting down, our parasympathetic nervous system is at work right now. It's digesting the foods that we are eating, making, because your system function like a cleaning process, right? It distributes nutrients around your entire system, takes out the toxins, right? That is what your parasympathetic nervous system does during rest and relaxation period. But then when the stress response kicks in, what happens? It shuts down. And then the stress response is activated, and then you see your pupils dilate, as in your eyes will just be wide open. So be wide. You want to take, what's going on? You see, you want to see more of what's going on. And then your heart rate increases, and then you are breathing faster. All your system, your adrenaline is released into your system so that more glucose is released, and then next thing you are more energetic. So you go from rest and relaxation to becoming more energetic and strengthened to face anything. So digestion stops. All those processes in your body that was happening during the rest and relaxation, all of them stops. Wow. You see? So that's for the short term. And then by the time you are done putting out the danger, or you are not in a safe place, what happens? All these processes reverse. Your heart rate will go back to normal. Your breathing will go back to normal. You start breathing more slowly instead of faster, right? All the processes will reverse. But what happens when these processes are not reversing? That's what leads to high blood pressure, hypertension. That's what leads to high cholesterol. So you don't want it to be consistent or to be continuous, because we have psychological fear and physical fear. You see? So in the presence of, if for example, we saw fire erupt where we are seated, that's physical fear. We will react by activating the stress response on the inside of us, right? What about when you don't have any physical danger? That's where anxiety comes in. That's where those other mental stress, they really come in, because you don't have any physical thing. It's all from your mind. You are thinking about the problem and you are magnifying it. You are creating worst case scenarios. And then your mind, because your brain cannot tell the difference between real threats, imagined threats, big challenges and small challenges. It can't tell the difference. It interprets all challenges and threats, all challenges as threats, you see, and then it goes into the stress response mode. And then that's what prevents you from sleeping in the night, because our emotions amplify in the night. And then you're trying to sleep, you can't sleep. And then you are awake. Why? Because the stress response is triggered on your system. Excess adrenaline is released. Your body is tired and wants to sleep, but your mind becomes super alert. And then you don't sleep, and then you wake up, you are tired, because maybe towards early morning, you start to feel sleepy, and then you don't even sleep well, you don't get quality sleep. And then you wake up, you're feeling headache, you are tired, you don't even want to face the day because you have low energy. Then you become easily irritated, you snap at the slightest provocation, so you are more creative, you are more productive when you are relaxed, not when you are stressed.
Introducing Panaceaville, where love thrives and relationships flourish. Are you ready to embark on a journey of love and fulfillment? Our comprehensive programs are designed to help engaged and married couples build and maintain healthy relationships in their first decade. With our expert guidance, you'll learn the art of understanding and proper conflict management, creating emotional safety and deepening intimacy in your relationship. Join our group couple coaching, limited to 5 couples per group, where you'll learn practical conflict management tools and work through disagreements with ease. Discover the joy of a thriving relationship as you heal attachment injuries and enhance trust together. For couples at a crossroads, our intervention coaching program is the answer. We'll help you identify and tackle challenges at their roots, rekindling lost love, repairing past hurts, and creating a peaceful and stable future. Before you walk down the aisle, equip yourself with the knowledge for a successful marriage through our Before the Aisle course. Unlearn old patterns, develop practical money management skills, and foster an intimate, fulfilling bond. As a bonus, you'll be part of a supportive community with access to materials and continuous growth support. Choose Panaceaville today and unlock the secrets to a happy and lasting relationship. Remember, a fulfilling marriage is within reach for those willing to unlearn, learn, and relearn.
One from the other time.
Reach Africa Magazine. Knowing where to go is half of getting what you want. Reach Africa Magazine is the award-winning and globally respected publication for authoritative information regarding business potentials and opportunities in Africa of interest to China and beyond. Your business doesn't get to Africa if it's not on Reach Africa Magazine. We are the official magazine of Ethiopian Airline. What are you waiting for? You can contact us +861 391894 3324 or follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn at Reach Africa Magazine, or check out our website reachafrica.biz. Your business is next in line. One love. Reach Africa Magazine.
That's so
in
true.
as much as you stress, in as much as you stress is good, you shouldn't put yourself in a constantly stressful situation. It's not okay.
Wow, that's so interesting. I just feel like this conversation has just started and we are already running out of time. But definitely, we have to have you back to get deep into this conversation, to be able to talk about certain parts of this conversation that we have not even scratched. However, I want us to leave our listener with something to begin to work with. So, can you give us maybe like some practical tips if we find ourselves in stressful places, chronic stress, where we have to cope? We do not immediately are able to leave that place. What are ways that we can cope with chronic stress?
Yeah. So I will just talk about two things that we need to do, which is changing our focus and changing our physiology. So in changing our focus, because we talked about dealing with our problems internally, starting from the inside, right? So changing our focus, when we're able to change what we are thinking about, when we change our thoughts, because what usually happens, the beginning of most of our problems is that we are focusing on those challenges, those things that are not working, right? And it's because of those focus, and just like the law of focus, whatever you focus on magnifies. You begin to create worst case scenario. Like I said earlier, we're not seeing the problem as it is, we're seeing it far worse than it is. So when we change the way we look at things, the things that we are looking at, we also change. So first is to catch those our wandering thoughts, and then ensure that we don't allow those negative thoughts live rent free in our head. We challenge them. If, for example, you know you are not stupid, right? And then so if someone comes to you and say you are stupid, you just wave it aside, especially if you are in the right frame of mind, you are happy, or you are in a happy emotional state. You will just wave it aside, right? It will not mean anything to you. But if you were not, if you are not in a good emotional state, what will happen? You will be like, how dare you, right? So physically, we will not allow people to talk us down, but we allow ourselves to talk ourselves down in our head. Yes. So first and foremost is your thought pattern. What are the things that you are thinking about? What are the things that you are thinking about? Each time you catch yourself thinking negatively, you need to ensure you challenge those thoughts. Are they true? Are they real or imagined? You see, so when you begin to challenge your thoughts, it will help to shift your focus. Then another thing is to ask yourself empowering questions. Because most times, because our thoughts come in the form of pictures and questions in our mind. So if I say fan, you don't think of FAN, the letter FAN. You see the picture in your mind of a fan. You see the image of a fan, right? So that's because our mind thinks in the form of pictures and questions. So 90% of the time we're talking to ourselves in our mind, and a lot of times we're asking ourselves questions. Why did you do this thing? How could you be this stupid? Like we're just asking ourselves questions. So we want to ensure that those questions that we're asking ourselves, they're empowering questions. Because when you ask yourself these empowering questions, you will also get this empowering response to the question. You see, so you want to ensure that you're asking yourself empowering questions. So when you're faced with challenging situations, you don't ask yourself this popular question, oh God, why me? Remember, that's what we usually do. Oh no, why me? Why me? Why now? You see, that's what we usually do. But the truth is, don't ask yourself these empowering questions. When you're faced with challenging situations, you don't ask yourself, why me? That's not the right question to ask. So what you want to ask is, how can I use this? How can I use this? You see, when you ask yourself, how can I use this? It helps to shift your focus from the problem to the solution. And then you begin to brainstorm ways on how you can actually use this particular thing that has happened to you. It will help you to shift your perception of yourself from being a victim of circumstance, you see, to being in charge of the circumstance, because stress is a state of us feeling not in charge, feeling inadequate, like I told you, the feeling of not enough. We don't have enough. We are not enough, So it helps you to shift your perception. So asking yourself empowering questions. What can I do to change this? And how can I use this? These are the questions that you can ask yourself, instead of why me? Because when you ask yourself why me, your mind will come up with disempowering answers. It's because you are stupid. It's because you did this that day. It's because of that thing that happened that time. It's because you see, so so that's one of the ways, changing our focus. We have so many ways to change our focus, like I said, So I talked about challenging your thoughts. I also talked about asking yourself empowering question. Another thing is gratitude, because each time we're not practicing gratitude is because we are also focusing on what's not happening, what's not going on well in our lives, all the negativities in our lives. That's what we're focusing on. So but gratitude helps to shift our perception, our focus from those things that are not going on to the things that is working, and be grateful for them and appreciate them. So it puts us in a resourceful emotional state and a good vibration to attract more things to be grateful for. So just like the law of attraction, because that's one of the laws of the mind, it will begin to attract similar thoughts of the same frequency, you see, to it. So it's important that we learn to practice gratitude. So asking yourself empowering question, back to asking questions, what am I grateful for right now? And then what about this particular thing makes me grateful? And then how does it make me feel? It will also help to shift our focus, from the negativity to the positive. And then another thing that can also help us is breathing. You see, breathing technique. We have so many relaxation techniques, but breathing technique does wonders. Because one of the stress response, like I explained earlier, it's when we are stressed or when we are faced with stressful situations, we subconsciously hold our breaths. We don't breathe. That's why when they call your name, let's say your MD just calls you and you're like, hey, what have I done? They didn't tell you the reason why they called you. Be like, hey, especially if something negative happened before, you start to overthink. Hey, what have I done? And then your heart, you see, the stress response is activated. Next thing, you're having palpitations, your heart starts to beat faster. And then you go there, you are nervous. Do you understand? And then by the time he now says, we want to give you a promotion, what happens? You see, initially you were thinking they were calling you because they wanted to scold you, right? But when they say, oh, we want to give you this promotion, you heave a sigh of relief. Right? That's because subconsciously you've been holding your breath, but you didn't know you were holding your breath. You see, so you begin to relax. By the time you see that you are not in danger, that is not a threatening situation, you begin to relax. So what do? You breathe. You usually breathe from your belly, right? So breathing technique can actually help to manage stress, especially wherever you are, you just breathe. And then holding your breath. So, but there's something called the rule of lungs. Exhaling twice as much as you inhale. It helps a lot to calm you down, to relax the tension, to ease the stress. And then the final thing in changing your physiology, exercise, changing the way you move your body, changing the way you use your body, because like you and I were sitting down now, we are in a relaxed, empowering state, right? That's because we're using our body in an empowering way. You see, but we can also use it in disempowering ways. How we do anything is how we do everything, because we have a way we always use our body. So when we are depressed, for example, our shoulders are slumped down, our head is down, we are lost in thoughts, we are pensive, we're in this kind of pensive mode or state. You see, so we have ways of using our body when we are sad, when we are unhappy, when we are experiencing those unhealthy negative emotions, right? So we also have ways that we use our bodies when we experience positive emotions. So exercise is one of the ways that you can actually shift your perception, shift your focus, and shift your physiology. Yeah.
Wow, interesting. I love that as we are talking about stress, we are looking at what we can do, because a lot of people will say, I'm helpless, I'm in a situation and there's nothing I can do about it. But just here we have gotten two keys to work on ourselves, even despite the situation outside, the environment doesn't change, we are able to work on it. Thank you so much. We have been talking to Bunor Augustina, and it has been amazing. We've learned so much. We definitely have her back. Do I have your yes on that? Let me just confirm.
Yes. Yes.
All
Because
right.
it's
Thank you so much.
I think a lot of people are ignorant as to what stress is, and they cannot even identify their stressors, so they don't really know how to manage stress. Because sometimes you are angry, you don't know why you're angry.
Yeah,
You see,
that's
that's
true.
because the stress response has been triggered, but you don't even know why, because you are not aware, because you're not paying attention. You see, so it's always my utmost pleasure to educate people on what stress is and how they can actually manage it effectively. So yeah,
I
I'll be
will.
looking forward to coming.
All right. Thank you so much. We are so grateful to have you on Path to Wellness, talk about stress. Listener, I'm sure you have benefited deeply from this conversation. We'll have her back. We'll go deeper into stress. We'll look at some of the things she mentioned, stressors, what are regular stressors, how to manage these things in other details, and then how stress also breaks down into ailments, both physical and mental ailments, and what we can do to correct some of these things or manage them better so that we can live optimally in with our health is so important. So stick with us on Path to Wellness as we continue this conversation. I'm your host, Nancy Oblete, and I say thank you once again for being part of the show today. Bye-bye.
Right.
Shape